Folks, something that's talked about a lot in fighting games these days are motion inputs. If you want to do a special move in most fighting games, you have to do a little special motion before the move comes out. You know, down, down, forward, forward for a fireball, forward, down, down, forward for a dragon punch. Even though this genre has existed for like 30 plus years, why are we still doing the same inputs that we've been doing all the way back in the day in those old games? Well, I think there's a few reasons for that. I think one of these reasons is balance, right? Like if Zangief wants to do his spinning pile driver on you, he has to completely spin the stick in a circle, so that's going to take a lot longer, and maybe this move would be a little bit too good if you could just do it with the push of one button. Which is why if you play with modern controls, the new feature they added for Street Fighter 6, you can still do the old spinning pile driver motion and get full damage, but if you do a one button spinning pile driver, it reduces the damage by 20% to balance out the fact that you don't have to do the whole input. But I think there's more to it than just balance. I don't think that's the entire answer. I think there's something very important that special moves offer to the game that doesn't get talked about a lot. So that is what we are going to discuss today. But guys, if you love pulling off satisfying combos and special moves, you're definitely going to want to check out the sponsor for today's video, Marvel Contest of Champions. Marvel Contest of Champions is a free-to-play mobile fighting game developed by Kabam. Build your ultimate team, upgrade your champions, and master strategic combat in a blend of RPG depth and fighting game action. And if you guys are big Marvel fans like I am, I know you're going to love the huge roster of over 300 iconic superheroes and supervillains with new characters added every month, like the new Fantastic Four movie tie-in. If you guys are hyped for the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, it's the perfect time to dive into Marvel Contest of Champions, where you'll be able to play with Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Thing, and the Human Torch, of course. But that's not the only exciting new development in the game. They have a brand new game mode called Squad Builder, where you get 52 maxed out 2-star champions for free, so that you can fight other players online on a completely even playing field, pure skill, all fundamentals, and this mode is only available until August 6th, so hurry now. Download Marvel Contest of Champions for free today on PC via Steam or on mobile through the App Store or Google Play. The game has cross-play and cross-progression, so you can seamlessly switch between devices and everything carries over seamlessly, so use the links down in the description to get started, and thank you so much to Marvel Contest of Champions for sponsoring this video. So the thing I want to talk about that I think these special move motions really contribute to the game is something called verisimilitude. So verisimilitude basically means it feels like reality, or it feels real, or it reminds you of something that is real. So I'm not necessarily trying to say that this is a realistic game. Obviously, we're throwing fire from our hands, jumping like 10 feet in the air. But when you do these special move motions, it makes them feel more like it's something that you're doing in real life. So I first heard this term applied to gaming in this old GDC talk about balancing the sniper rifle in Halo. And he was basically saying that, yeah, in Halo, it feels really good that the right trigger shoots the gun and the left trigger throws the grenade, because it matches up to what your character's hands are doing in game, you know? And if you bind controls in a certain way that feel unnatural, it takes you out of the game. It takes you out of that flow state that is really important for making a game feel satisfying to play. So why did they choose the fireball motion for fireballs, down, down, forward, forward? It's because it matches with what Ryu is doing with his hands, right? Like he's charging the fireball and throwing it forward. So it kind of naturally connects with that motion. And the Dragon Punch, you know, forward, down, down, forward, kind of matches the way that you drag your fist across the ground to do the Shoryuken. And of course the same with the Hurricane Kick. You know, you're spinning the kick around behind you, and that's what causes the whirlwind motion. And to go back to our example of Zangief here with the spinning pile driver, yes, spinning the stick in a 360 is a very difficult motion to do for newer players. It's very uncomfortable to get used to. But the fact that they chose this motion to match up with the move where he spins around in the air and throws you, I think says a lot. And it's the same with T-Hawk too. You know, they want to sell that motion of him spinning you around in the air. So that's why this spinning pile driver motion works so well. And when it comes down to it, I think the ultimate king of verisimilitude in his controls has to be E Honda, right? When you're holding down back and then charging up the headbutt, like, you are living out exactly what E Honda is doing in the match. He is sitting there and he is stanced up, ready for the opponent to make their move, and then you press forward plus punch to launch yourself forward, or you can press up plus kick to go up in the air for the butt splash. It just feels right. And then his command throw is a half circle back motion, which again matches the way that he grabs you and kind of throws you underneath himself. That matches up so perfectly. And to do a 100-hand slap, what do? You literally mash the crap out of the button, which matches up with E Honda mashing the crap out of you with his open palm. So I just feel like this character is so intuitive and so fun to pick up and play for new players. We all knew back in the day there were the people that would pick E Honda or Blanca or Chun-Li and just do the mash moves because these moves are so intuitive and match up with what the character is doing so effectively. But of course, this might be, things that have aged poorly, because now E Honda no longer mashes the button to do a 100-hand slap. He now does half circle back punch, which is quite interesting. We've kind of had to make the trade-off here of removing a bit of that, verisimilitude, a little bit of that feeling, the good feeling of mashing the button, in exchange for, getting an input that's easier to combo into. You don't need to use any special techniques to do like complicated combos into this, where in the old games you would have to do clever tricks like pianoing the buttons or double tapping. And this is a trade-off that's been made a lot, right? Like in Street Fighter 2, the input for Sagat's Tiger Knee was down, back, down, down, forward, forward, up, forward, plus kick. So that, perfectly matches what he actually does on screen, right? Like you're ending in up forward the way that he goes up forward to hit you with the knee. But yeah, this input was awkward enough and confusing enough for people that they did end up changing this to Dragon Punch plus kick in the later games. And sometimes these changes are quite controversial, like in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, where a lot of characters had their Dragon Punch motion changed into a down-down punch motion. And you would think, like, how big of a deal can this be? Right? Like, in a lot of ways, this motion's easier to do. I think for newer players especially, a lot of them have trouble with the forward, down, down, forward inputs. So, yeah, just tapping down, down punch doesn't seem that bad. But I will tell you, this is one of the most hated inputs by a lot of fighting game players. And I think a big reason is just that it doesn't feel satisfying the way a Dragon Punch does. It just feels wrong for people who are so used to the old school Dragon Punch input. But that's not to say that a game needs to have special move inputs to be intuitive or to have the moves feel good to do, right? I think Super Smash Bros. Is probably the best example because, yeah, this game, it has no fireball motion or anything like that. It's just one attack button and one special button. But the way that the moves match up to your inputs are so intuitive, and I think it's really clear just based on how popular this series is and how anyone can just pick it up and instantly have fun. If you mash the A button, your character will do rapid fire attacks, so naturally that feels very intuitive. If you press forward plus A, you will do a forward attack, but if you press forward plus A, hard, you will do a smash attack, and the same for all the other directions. So that feels very, very natural and intuitive the first time you pick up the analog stick. Forward B is usually a forward moving special that can help you get back on stage. Up B is usually, one that will launch you up and help you recover back onto the stage. So to me, Smash controls are just brilliantly designed in terms of, just feeling good to pick up and play and getting you into the game quickly and not getting you confused in terms of, okay, now what do I press if I want to do this move? You don't even have to think about it most of the time in this game. It all just kind of happens exactly the way that you would expect. But that is not always the case with simple input games, one-button input games. There are some that I think don't do this particularly well, and the main one that I wanted to talk about in this video is 2xKO. So the three normal attack buttons in 2xKO kind of are pretty straightforward, right? We got light, medium, and heavy, and of course you can press them in that order to make combos. But the special move buttons are where things start to get a bit confusing, and I think this was some feedback that was maybe unexpected by the devs when the game was playable in alpha. A lot of people actually found the control scheme quite confusing despite being simple inputs with no fireball motions or anything like that. So we have two special buttons, S1 and S2. And it's not really like one is like light special and one is heavy special. It's fairly arbitrary which moves get allocated to S1 and which moves get allocated to S2. But two specials, of course, is not enough to make a complete character these days. So directions plus special also give you different moves. And it's not really like Smash where it's like your up B tends to move you up, your forward B tends to move you forward, your neutral B tends to be a projectile, down B hits on both sides. There are certain kind of rules that way. In this, it's a little bit random, it feels like. You know, Jinx, her neutral S1 is the chain gun. Her forward S1 is the chompers. And her down S1 is the flying monkey. I don't really understand why down S1 is the one that like goes up in the air and like, you know, stops the opponent from jumping. And her neutral S2 is the rocket. Down S2 fires the rocket at the ground. Of course, that is very intuitive. But back S2 shoots the zapper. I mean, like 90% of her special moves are projectiles that move forward, so it is going to be hard to map them all in a way that makes sense, but this is just kind of an issue that you run into when you go with this control scheme. Like, why is back plus S2 a move that shoots forward across the screen? Why is down plus S2 a move that goes up in the air, but forward plus S2 is a move that moves along the ground? It's all very hard to keep track of, in my opinion. You know, Alawi, on the other hand, I think her specials make a bit more sense, right? Like, neutral S2 is just like, you know, a medium-ranged attack, whereas forward S2 is like a lunging overhead. So yeah, forward S2 moves you forward, which makes a lot of sense. And down S2, she pounds the ground and a tentacle comes out. So, okay, we're understanding, we're starting to follow here. Neutral S1 is this big long-range sort of tentacle slap. Forward S1 is this multi-hitting kind of Rekka sequence, and this could go either way. I think these could be switched and it would be fine kind of either way, but where this character gets really confusing is actually as an assist. Yes, assists have their own button in this game, a dedicated assist button, and this also gets very confusing because the assist button can be combined with forward or back to make different moves. So back plus assist with Alawi is that long-range tentacle slap. Neutral plus assist is her neutral S2, where she comes at you and hits you. So it's very confusing to me that a move that used to be done with neutral is now done at back, because they had to make room for this move, which is also done with neutral, to be done with neutral or forward. So it's possible that I'm, you know, overreacting and it's not as confusing as I'm making it out to be, but I think a lot of people felt this way when they first picked up the game, that it's just hard to remember everything. Even me, after playing this for like 8 hours here during Alpha 2, like, sometimes I have to think to myself, which direction do I press to get this certain attack? Like, I can't even remember. Like, it's just not that intuitive, and it's kind of, you know, the decision that they made when they decided to make this a 2 special button game. They were forced to dedicate 2 buttons to special moves instead of being able to do fireball motion plus light or like dragon punch motion plus light. They kind of put themselves in a difficult situation. So yes, they are making it easier for League of Legends players who have never done a fireball motion in their life. They don't have to learn how to do that for this game, but there is a little bit of difficulty, I think, that comes with this system as well, and it can definitely be confusing for people with any amount of experience in fighting games. But now that we're back in the present, if you guys couldn't tell, I filmed that back when the 2XKO alpha was happening. It took me this long to actually make the rest of the video. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think that special move buttons are, you know, to the detriment of fighting games, and you know, it's better when we have to manually do the motions? Do we think Street Fighter 6 maybe has found like a good middle ground where if you want to, you can play on modern, but if you're a boomer like me, you can play on classic? I don't know. I think it's pretty complicated. So yeah, let me know down in the comments, and also let me know if you think I'm just overthinking everything and this whole verisimilitude thing is just a nothing burger, and yeah, really all that matters is whether the moves are easy to do. I don't know. But let me know. Should we go back to mashing punches for 100 hand slap? I think so. But with that, let's end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.